About 4 years ago, Wizard101 made one of the weirdest decisions ever. And today, I wanted to talk about why I think they absolutely need to reverse it. So what change are you talking about, Sauce? What do you want about? So flashback all the way to the year 2019, they actually put out update notes. And in these update notes, they said that they were finally going to add the treasure card vault. And if you're unfamiliar with what like a vault might be, like for example, right? On my storm, I have a seed vault. So if I open this, I can literally access a bunch of seeds that I've stored so that they don't crowd out my inventory. I also have a gear vault where if I have like, you know, extra Aeon gear, outdated gear that maybe is super situational or even sentimental gear, I can put it here if I need to access it later. And similarly, Wizard101 was gonna put out a treasure card vault, but they scrapped the idea. And at the time, they talked about how it would just promote hoarding, which is definitely true, but the proposed treasure card vault in the test run notes that never made it to live all the way back in 2019, they only said they would add 999 cards. And honestly, I think we could all agree as the game is becoming, you know, bigger and bigger and they're adding more and more treasure cards, 999 TCs just isn't the same anymore. For example, right now, I have 32 of these imp treasure cards that have the spellment version of them, you know, like not the regular damage, the spellment version. And the reason I hold on to these is because I really think there might be a meta that comes around where I could use the activate feature on imp. And what imp represents to me is one of many examples where dual school treasure cards are worth looking into, and that is a gigantic strain on inventory space. And with every school getting like, you know, like one dual school a theme that can be transferred into another dual school a theme, there's literally 3 schools of spellmented treasure cards that you might want to consider keeping in your inventory and not selling, not deleting. And considering these spellmented treasure cards feature as a main drop in the drop table of Novus, I can only assume that this is the direction they're going in the future, right? You're going to do all of these main quest lines, the main storyline, and you're going to get a lot of these spellmented treasure cards so that you have a push to experiment with them in other parts of the content. But the push to experiment gets kind of messed up when it's such a big strain on your inventory and you end up having to delete cards or sell them because they just take up too much space. A treasure card vault would easily solve this, and I don't see why, you know, even if it's like, you know, not for crowns, maybe you can like craft it, maybe you can farm it, you could add it in any way, shape, or form to make it so that all of these treasure cards we get from main questline worlds just don't go to waste. The other big reason people want a TC vault, and I think it's more relevant now than ever before, is gold storage. In my opinion, Wizard101 has 2 options. Either add a goddamn bank or add a treasure card vault. And by bank, I mean like, you know, let's say that you do hit max gold. Now this is funny because my ass, that's never happening for me. But let's say you don't have like, you know, 7 main characters with 7 sets of needs that you always send gold to. Let's say you have like 1 or 2 characters. You're gonna hit max gold so easily at max level. And once you hit that 500,000 gold, you might want to have a way to store more gold. And because there's no bank in Wizard101, the only way to do this is with empowers. And this is what people do, right? They'll make literally free accounts, as in level 1s with 999 free space, and trade them hundreds and hundreds of empowers so they have a way of storing gold. If people are already doing that, why don't we have a TC vault that can literally do the exact same thing, except the difference here, instead of creating a free account where someone can make a level 1 to hold on to a bunch of empowers, people might actually be willing to pay crowns for this. Considering they can put an extremely useful gear related item for 2,000 crowns, I think a treasure card vault could literally be sold for even more than that. This is something that people really want. And as long as you added a somewhat free-to-play way to farm it or craft it, I feel like nobody would care. This is exactly what they do with current vaults, and nobody has a problem with them. So you could just make money where you're not. So I don't know why they don't do that. And here's the thing. I do find the argument that if you have too much gold or you have access to too high of a gold cap, that does actually like hurt parts of the game. For example, right, my 500,000 gold, right, when I hit the cap on it, I genuinely feel incentivized to like spend it, right, because otherwise I'm not gaining gold. So, you know, sometimes I'll make a pet, sometimes I'll buy reagents that I might need for later, right? That when you have max gold, you do have a reason to spend it. But I would argue that 500,000 gold is nothing. I go through 500,000 gold in like 5 ancient to epic pet hatches, and an entire TC vault full of empowers sold at the maximum price, which you'll never be able to do all at once. Even something in the most ideal form is only 2 million gold, which is not really that much higher than the max gold cap that we have now. If 2 million feels like too crazy of a number, if each Empower is sold ideally, you could always make a TC vault not 999. You could make it like 500 and people would still love it. So I find that the argument that gold storage being too generous kind of could hurt the player, while I do find that compelling, given the way you can literally run out of gold so quickly in this game, I feel like it's not that compelling of an argument to me, especially nowadays as pets are so much more closely tied to the end game, as pets become more and more specific, as more talents are added onto the game. And finally, and I really think I shouldn't be, you know, this isn't like a new thing at all, they've added recipes now that require hundreds of treasure cards. I know not everyone raids, but in order to make a key to open a gate in order to do a raid, you actually have to farm a bunch of treasure cards before, if y'all didn't know. And the new raid takes 460 full-ass treasure cards to do. The raid before that, 630. So yet another reason for a treasure card vault is because recipes have gotten much more treasure card intensive, and this is not something that we had 4 years ago. I think increasing the number of treasure cards you need for the recipe that requires the most by literally hundreds and hundreds, but not doing anything to the max inventory space that you can hold is like a weird combo, like, right? Like, they should have done something to account for the fact that, yo, now, especially if you want to raid, you now have the pressure to have 500 treasure cards free in your entire inventory. They've added treasure card intensive tasks, especially with the addition of Azot into the economy of Wizard101. And while that's really cool that they've created a scenario where there's a market building around these things and there's a lot of value for getting a lot of Azot all at once, they have added no tools to actually make interacting with the system any easier. And when you have a system that requires hundreds of treasure cards, there should be ways to alleviate that stress on your inventory, even if that may not have been needed 4 years ago. I guess what I'm trying to say is the same arguments that worked against the treasure card vault being added just do not work anymore, in my opinion. And I think we're sorely overdue for a way for every wizard to hold more than 999 cards, whether this is through a natural increase in our maximum space or through something like a treasure card vault that might be like bought with crowns or crafted or hard to farm, whatever source they want. That's one of those quality of life changes that I don't think, I think they've delayed it way too much, and everybody felt betrayed when they said they would add it and didn't 4 years ago, and now everyone still wants it. I don't think it's a coincidence that people haven't gotten over the fact that this is a change that literally was announced and reversed that long ago, and it's needed so much now. I would love to hear y'all's opinions on this infamous treasure card vault. What would you guys use a treasure card vault for, and what do you guys think are reasons that they should add this now that maybe didn't exist when they initially revoked the change? I'd love to hear y'all's opinions on this. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub review, and as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon, and yeah.